And we are live. Welcome to the Automotive Model Cars Show, AMC for short. And I want to introduce my co-host, Mr. Jason KRD, and of course, our awesome producer, Mr. Bruce. Jason, I think we've got something you want to share with us today. What is it going to be today?
Absolutely, Mikey. Today we've got a special guest. A lot of you are going to know him. He's got a great channel. It's Left Coast Model Car Builds. Very family-oriented gentleman, and let's bring him in here.
Let me see if I can pop him up here. We're still trying to figure all this fancy stuff out. But look, I found him. There he is. We're going to add him to the stage. Look at that. There's Mr. Paul from West Coast Model Car Builds. Welcome, Paul.
What's up, everybody? Thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
How's it going today, Paul?
Yeah, good. Not bad for a Thursday.
Yeah. For a Thursday, yeah, you're getting through the work week like the rest of us? Or?
That's it. Yeah, rise and grind.
Yeah, for sure. So we want to bring you on here. We wanted to see, kind of let you have your time here with what you want to do with your channel and what's inspired you to get into the YouTube game. You know, I know you've been an avid model builder for a long time. I think your dad got you into it. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Pops was a, car junkie and built models as a kid and somewhat as an adult. And then I think as my interest grew, it pulled him back into it.
That's awesome. And then I see now you've got the whole family doing it now, huh?
Yeah, so it actually, it started way back with my little sister. She built for a little while with us. And then my oldest daughter, who's now in Texas, she built and she plans on getting back into it once she's situated and has space. And then Belle picked up on it. And June had built some snap kits and a few kits when he was younger. Then he kind of got into the video gaming and stuff with his buddies. Yeah. And now he's kind of crept back into it as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what made you decide to do YouTube? Was there one specific guy or channel that inspired you to get into the YouTube game? I mean, like we've made it very noted that me and Mike, it was Jason Hascom's channel for us.
Well, very similar. Kind of went down the same road. Modeling was kind of that one thing that it always stuck around, but it had its moments of inconsistencies for sure. About a year before I did the channel, I started building again and it kind of just stuck. And prior to that, going on YouTube, I didn't realize this whole community really existed. I would mostly pop on if I was just trying to figure something out on a kit, or if I wanted to see how something fit, I might look and see if someone did a build on it, like a HPI guy or somebody like that. And then one day I saw some of the related videos, and I saw it was actually Jason Hanscom's Blue Ox Model Shop and Dylan over at NYS. Those two popped up, and they were talking about their group builds. And I was familiar with some of the build-offs on Instagram and a little bit on Facebook, but more on Instagram. I'd done a couple of those. And I thought, wow, this sounds cool. It's not, in a way, it's not the competitiveness. It's just kind of building, supporting your friends, your buddies, other folks that are in the group build. And so actually that was it. I, just like you guys, I kind of reached out to Jason and was like, hey, how does this work? And he's like, oh, you just throw your video up. And I'm like, where? And he says, oh, YouTube. I was like, oh boy. So, and that was it. So I went on one night, did two very quick, I think they're like a minute and a half, maybe 2-minute videos, one on each. And at that point I said, well, I guess I got to learn something about doing videos now.
Yeah. It's, I can honestly say I'm just a little over a year on the YouTube, and it's been one heck of a learning curve. I'm not good with cameras and all that crap. I mean, even with pictures, I let my wife take care of all the pictures, and she's
Nice.
better at it. But it's definitely a lot of fun. I agree with you. The camaraderie that is in those group builds it's almost like brings me back to a child with sitting at the picnic table with all the neighborhood kids, and you went to Kmart, you got a model kit, and you're sharing your testers, little jars of paints, and that's what this group build thing really does for me, anyhow. What about you, Mike? How do you feel
Yeah,
about that?
the 48-hour group build, and to rewind just a little bit, yeah, we're all products of the Blue Ox Model Shop for sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Whether he wants to accept us or not, we're his children. We love Jason.
for
That's why we
sure.
had him on. Yeah, that's why we had him on for our first guest. What a great guy, super inspirational, and help us all out. But you know, yeah, as far as the group builds go, I was so lucky to, that 48-hour group build. Paul, you came in, on that deal that we were doing, and listen, you can like or dislike or whatever, but there was, you get guys like Matt, Lucas E, you get all these big names. I mean, they are big names. You can, it's debatable or whatever, but they're still all great guys that do great stuff in the community. And I was so lucky and felt so blessed to be able to in that 48-hour group build to do what we're doing now. And like I said, Paul, you were there. That's the first time I think I saw you, 1-to-1 was even in there. The guys like Billy and Matt and BG and Jason. Of course, I had been fortunate enough to meet Jason, but in person. But yeah, I think that the group builds are definitely where it's at. Paul, we've watched a lot of what you do, and we appreciate what you do. But what I really like about your channel is how you incorporate your whole family builds with you. That's amazing, dude. That is so amazing that your daughter and your son and Pops is in there, and you guys are clearly awesome painters. Do you have a painting background on 1-to-1? Is that right?
So my father does. He's painted cars and done body work his whole life. So he's done stuff. The I guess you say the meat and gravy or potatoes and gravy's been shop work, but on the side he's done work. He's worked with custom folks. A lot of work with Rod Powell. A lot of side stuff. So that's kind of where I learned a bit there. I kind of grew up around some of the shops, hanging out. And when we got into doing model cars, that's just, it was an old Binks and DeVilbiss tin gun, not the gravity feed stuff. And that's why I learned to spray on. And after took a liking to it, we got a little Seda mini touch-up gun or jam gun. And
Jam
I
gun. That's what I know. Jam gun.
Yeah.
so that's one of them that I still use to this day. So we have
What
two of
what
them.
what what was the deal on that jam gun compared to what we got with the airbrushes? Is it a
I would have
1.0, 1.5?
It's a little bigger than one, and I'd have to take a
Lays
look.
down a lot of paint real fast.
So, yeah, and it's funny is that's actually what triggered me to get an airbrush. We've had a few airbrushes. I never used one up until about a year ago, but material wise, so when I started looking more at like scale finishes and the stuff he offered and the price and tropical glitz, there's no, I mean, I could shoot it through my touch-up gun, but depending on the color, it might take a bottle to two bottles of paint. Whereas with the airbrush, I could probably do three cars with a bottle of base. Clearing, I still prefer the Seda, but it's just kind of working. So in there, I'm kind of learning backwards, with the
Gotcha.
airbrush. But yeah, so I've been using the touch-up guns myself and spraying probably since I was about 13.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's good to
Yeah,
have a good mentor.
I'm sorry, Jason.
No, it's fine.
Me and you both are awesome. We got awesome sponsors, Iceman and Scale Finishes. So yes,
Yeah.
Jameson is just, Iceman's great too. Joel's a great guy, but we're talking about paint. So
Yeah.
Jameson's just a really, really cool guy. I sent him out an email when I was doing my 1,000 thing for my on my channel, and he came back a little late. And he's like, "I saw your video. I'm sorry I got late." But that guy couldn't just he couldn't give enough. We have some when we get to my channel, we'll work on that. He's added a whole bunch to the pot. But what a really nice guy,
Yeah.
super good product. When I was first looking for, when I got back into the hobby, we've told the story where I was out for so long and I came back in and I was decent with a rattle can, but I really wanted to step up my game. When I came back, I'm like, I really want to step up my game, and only mostly because of the colors. There's nothing wrong with a rattle can, but the variety of colors that you can do through an airbrush. So I went on, I may have told the story, but I went on and I found scale finishes ready to go airbrush stuff, right? So I didn't have to be a chemist and add this and add that and make sure this and that and whatever. And really, but great company. I'm sorry, I'm kind of running off with that, but great company. Jason tells me all the time I need to take a breath, so I'm gonna take a breath. But Scale Finishes, great company,
Yeah.
great product. MCW, there's a lot of them out there. I just
Yes.
happened to find them first. But Jameson, what a great guy.
Yeah, and just to give a little perspective, so we have some local paint shops that are really good to us. I grew up in some of these, going to them, Sencal, Elmer's, and I'll tell you, basing with the airbrush and being able to buy something from Jamestown, MCW, whoever you're getting your stuff from, Tropical Glitz for, anywhere from $6 to $16 for some 2 to 4 ounces of ready to spray. I think the last pint, a friend of ours had a nice 60, I think it was a 64 El Camino. He got it. It was already painted. It was in a really nice BMW blue. And we picked up about a pint of that base just to be able to use on models and stuff. And that pint was
Awesome.
probably pushing about $130.
Yeah.
So it goes to give you an idea of, being able to buy something in 2 to 4 ounce range. Because when I was a teenager, we didn't have anything like that. So a buddy of mine, we would go halfers on quarts of House of Colors. Luckily, back then, all the candies were urethane. They didn't have the bases then. And the pearl base coats, but, we're only anywhere from 45, maybe 60 to 70 for a red or a gold. But we go halfers, whereas now, those quarts are pushing 150, 160 on up. So it's very nice to be able to reach out to Jamestown, and ask for something, or if I can't find nothing. Like when June was building his Mustang, between looking at Ford stuff and talking to Jamestown, we found the original green that, he used on this one here,
Oh, that's beautiful.
Nice,
and
beautiful.
that's paint from Jamestown, their scale finishes, along with that's either the honey clear or the 500. It's not the 2K, and it looks great. It really fits the build.
So let me ask you this, Paul. You've shot a lot of paint, so what do you prefer? You like urethane, lacquer, enamel? What are you? Just
base coat, clear coat. Lacquer, I don't have a ton of experience with. I remember spraying a couple of candy lacquers way back when I first started, and the weather out here, we're in California, but it's not San Diego. It's our area. We have the valley, which gets hot, the Salinas Valley, but we're right on that cuff where we get a lot of overcast. Summers, we always joke, you wake up and it's 60 degrees and wet out, and we say that's a Salinas summer. So the couple times I tried shooting a lacquer, it just blushed. We ended up scuffing it down and basing it over it. So base coat urethane, I like the urethane candies. Some people will say when you get into the scale, when you're using your Orion Silver, Solar Gold, the flake. I mean, I'm not a huge, I build them to have fun. They look good,
right.
But the urethane itself, if you're a person that's not big on scribing, watching your emblems, your door lines, you will lose them extremely quick by the time you put a little bit of primer down, because your urethane, you're mixing a hardener in that as well.
Correct.
So by the time you develop your candy over your base, depending on how many coats you put down, then you put a few coats of clear. It can be tricky on especially a 25th scale model.
Yeah, for sure. So then, what's your go-to airbrush then? Because you got so many great brands out there. What is your go-to brush?
So I've really been enjoying the gallery stuff. Their airbrushes have been great. I got that fan cap, and
Yeah,
for bodies, oh my God, that made a world of difference. So I'm really enjoying the gallery products. I like that, you open the box, shows you right there the blown
yeah,
apart image of them. Very reasonably priced. They work great. I mean, every time I use mine, I clean it up pretty good, put it away, and I've never had a problem with it.
yeah. They're a channel sponsor of mine, and I've got the 98, couple 39s, couple 68s, and then the Swallowtail, and
Yeah,
every one of them has just been a amazing brush.
yeah,
I put them through a lot too, and they work really well. So very happy
yeah.
with that brush.
I love it. Yeah.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt, and you guys are having but we have officially hit the big time, Jason.
We did.
We have hit the big time.
The wife
Miss
is in there.
Miss Brenda Klein is in here. We have hit the big time.
That's funny.
That's funny.
She told me she was going to spy.
She's fine. Paul, let me ask you this. And you've been around doing this for a long time, like you said. Would you say, I agree with you on the gallery that swallowtail is amazing. I love it. It's just an awesome. I know that Jason has contacts with the Black Widows, and he did a review on them, and I'm looking forward. He's actually sending me one, and I'm looking forward to doing it. But would you say and agree with a lot of people that say that gallery has driven the prices of airbrushes down because like the Pasches and all these, I know that I can't think of the two name company right now. It's
Badger.
escaped. Badger.
Badger. Yeah.
But there's another one that's it's like two names and they're like
Ottawa.
do what?
Ottawa
No,
Iwata,
there's
or
Rex.
Iwata.
The Ottawadas and the Paches. Would you say that's why they've dropped their prices? Because if you look at in your opinion, if you look at their different, when before Gallery came out, a Pache or a Ottawa was really expensive. Or I say really expensive; they were high dollar, but they dropped them down a lot because Gallery is producing a great product at an affordable price.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. My first airbrush was a Grex, and I picked it up as a set with the compressor. And one thing is, with that, having to buy the separate needles and everything, where the Swallowtail, I got 2 or 3 different needles with it, which was really nice. Iwata, we have 1 or 2. I've never used it. I think Pops has. I think with Iwata, it's a little different because they get all the way into the full size gun stuff. So for them, it might be easier to absorb a little bit on the airbrush side. I don't know. But yeah, I think with what Gallery's putting out, like anything, I think it really forces everybody to be a little more competitive.
Harder Starback. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, King Bob, for that. Harder Starback or Steinback.
I think it's
Yeah,
Steinbeck.
I've never had one of those brushes, but they're like
Mm,
crazy expensive. And
Yeah.
apparently they're really, really nice too. So
Gotcha.
My first one was a Badger, and I love it. The Anthem 155, I think, is the number on it. And it took a little bit getting used to it. And, especially with the button. The button works great for my RC stuff because you're inside of a body. But on these models, the trigger is it's the cat's butt, really,
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah.
I've
yeah.
never done the touch-up guns. I have the touch-up guns for the one-to-ones, but
Yeah.
I've always been too scared that those 1.2 or 1.1 needles would just shoot way too much paint on them. So
that's a lot of product.
It makes it really nice. Even so, Belle has sprayed with both. And
okay,
even for her, she's learned with the touch-up gun. So for her using the airbrush, she's like, man, this is a lot of work. with the touch-up gun, I've got a couple of videos where we sprayed some stuff, and it's literally just a pass, turn it, pass, and go. Clear, you got to kind of have you, you kind of got to be familiar with your settings and spacing with clear, because that can get away with you a little quicker. But I guess for myself, it's kind of second nature, and I think our buddy Gary Seeds
Yeah.
probably put it really good when you're familiar with your guns or equipment, which for me, the ones I tend to go for, because we have a whole array of different guns from touch up to full size, but I tend to stick with the same ones I've been using now for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I don't have any pressure gauges or anything. I just set it by listening to it and by feel, and that's it. And that's what kind of what Gary was saying. You get a feel for them when you're used to that equipment, and you go by feel and sound. And
so when you go to set your fan on the spray, do you go with a wider fan or do you go with a narrower fan?
No, it's fairly wide.
Okay.
Yeah, for those, it makes it a lot easier, and it seems like the paint's not just nailing that one spot so hard. It's a little more forgiving, but you're probably losing a little more material as well.
Yeah, you're putting more into the air then. So,
yeah.
So how long have the kids been building now? A couple years?
So Belle is 15, and she started with, we got her on from snaps onto glue models, and actually started teaching her with the SATA probably when she was about 11, I think it was. So she's got about 4 years in. June was building some snaps and some easy glue togethers with me when he was young, probably between 6, 7, 8. And then he actually just dove back into it probably this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he wasn't in last year's 48 hours, just you and Bella, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's when I first got kind of witness to your channel, was that very first 48-hour group build for me.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool. And correct me if I'm wrong, it was you and Bella, and then we had Lewis and Andrew, right? And didn't we have a husband and wife that year as well?
There was. Yeah, I do remember seeing some of theirs.
Yeah.
Don't remember the sound of it.
That's when I really fell in love with the YouTube thing, because I thought, holy moly, I mean, you got couples doing it, you got fathers and their children doing it, and that just touched a chord with me, as far as doing stuff with my father. I can't lie, I've had a great father, to actually sit down and teach me stuff and basically get me to where I am today. So I really am drawn to your channel, and there's a couple other channels that I feel are very family orientated that way. So it's very, very cool to see that stuff. Like you said earlier too, it's so easy for these kids to get so wrapped up in the video game world. My kid as well, he's very big into the gaming stuff, but he's at that point now where he's realizing that he's got to go to work and he's got to do all this other stuff, but then he wants to do the models, he wants to do the RC. And then, of course, if dad says, hey, you can drive the Challenger, he's out here, So,
yeah, very cool. It's fun.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Paul, if you had to pick a type of kit, not necessarily an AMT or Revell or whatever type of kit, what is your favorite type of build? Hot rods, show cars, low riders? What are you most into?
If I had to pick one, I'd probably what we refer to as a 60 style cruiser. And it kind of fits a lot of different things, but typically your 50s, 60s, kind of a mild custom, or it could be something that's almost bone stock, just slammed to the ground with leg pipes and paint work. That's just kind of what I grew up around, so.
That's that California. That's that California, right? Yeah. That's awesome.
That would be the go-to.
everybody picks on California, and you can say a lot of things about California. We don't get into politics, but
Yeah,
a lot of both
Builder,
racing and custom all starts in not just racing and custom,
yeah.
but a lot of automotive
the
genius, if you
fabricators.
will, comes from
Yeah.
California. It really does.
A lot of
There's guys
knuckleheads.
out there, even back in the day, Barris
Yeah,
and all them guys, they were all from out that
Build.
way, and they were coming up with new creative stuff.
yeah, yeah. It's very it's funny is now at my age of 45 here in Salinas, there's a lot more stuff with the car culture out here. When I was a teenager, it was like dead. We hardly had anything, cars, model cars out in this area. So it's really cool to see it come back. I know Bell's really enjoyed it with the one-to-one scale stuff we do. Even June's kind of taken an interest in it now. But Bell's always taken an interest in the one-to-ones. We go to the car shows. If, Pops doesn't want to go, we'll go. Her and I have a whole slew of matching Dixons and stuff like that that
Right.
we'll wear.
Love
And
them Dixon shirts,
Yeah,
man. They're
yeah,
awesome. I love
she
them.
just the car culture. She's really big on June's. It's kind of getting to him now,
that's
but
awesome.
it's neat to have it around us.
I live obviously I live in Florida, and those Dixon shirts and the flat bill, we
Uh,
do it on the bikes. We don't have the car.
uh,
We don't have that type of car culture. We have a car culture here, but I live like 20 minutes from Don Garlitz, so all
nice.
those guys are covered in grease, and they just want to go fast. I
Very
show
cool.
I show up on the Harley with a flat bill and a Dixon shirt on, and my girl is the same way. She shows up with a Dixon shirt on, a flat bill, and we definitely love that culture out there. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So, Paul, we got to hit you with the hard question now.
Oh,
What's your take on 3D printing? Is it good for the hobby or is it wrecking the hobby?
I think it's great. I mean, I don't 3D print myself, but you know, the hobby, just like anything, has to continue to develop if you're going to continue to generate interest, I believe.
Yep.
And 3D printing is a way to bring a lot that we just don't have through kits. I'm sure it's when I got into models, there were some great resin casting, which was really cool stuff you couldn't get or could no longer get. Model House, we have a whole bunch of it. I wish we had gotten more. But 3D printing, I mean, I think it's great. It's just like it's like when aftermarket stuff came out, all the photo etch started to get big, machine parts started to get big.
Mm-hmm.
It's like anything, sky's the limit. And for me, I think it's great. And I've heard people debate on contest whether it should be separated. To me, that's what box stock is for. If you're not building box stock, a person could have all the aftermarket parts and 3D parts in the world, but if they don't build the model clean, it doesn't do them any good on a show or contest table.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I think regardless of what's available and what you have, the fundamentals, those are the things that will never go out of style. The fundamentals of it. Everything else is just a bonus and learning to use it. It's just another thing in the hobby to learn.
I agree. I think it's a great tool and it's helped develop the new age of modeling. And to me, that is something that I've been trying to get with my son to say, hey, look, you can design your parts. You like your video game stuff? Here you go.
Yeah.
This is your video game, but you can now hit print and create your stuff. And I think that's kind of what's helping me draw the youth in my household
Nice.
into building is because, well, hey, I can take this Hellcat motor, print it, and stick it in an old 68 Dart,
Yeah.
That's the stuff that he's into. And then same thing with some of the race cars me and Mike have talked about. He's into like the Daytona prototypes and all the road racing stuff as well. So that's just always been a hot button question, right? Is you get some of these guys that really think that it's bad for the hobby, and I don't see it that way. And like you said too, when you go to these shows, pretty much everybody's either modifying or kit bashing or buying this part, and like the aluminum stuff that you mentioned too. A lot of people love the aluminum air cleaners and velocity stacks and stuff like that. So why not let 3D printing parts just be part of the community, you know?
Yeah.
So.
I think
I
that
agree. I agree 100%. And listen, there's guys out there that have been, and I'm in a club here in Ocala that has a lot of older guys, and they created and just like made it themselves, like made some awesome stuff, and that's awesome. That's great, and we definitely appreciate those
Yep.
guys, and would love for them to be able to share that skill for them that they do that. But not everybody is that good of a scratch builder. I mean, come on, we're all at different levels, right? You know, you got your beginner and you got your advanced and whatever, and we all are trying to get better, but scratch building is tough. To make
yeah,
something out of nothing is super hard, especially if you go to a website and for like, you know, we'll say $20 for a motor, you can get it and it's super detailed, it's ready to go. I
mhm,
mean,
Right.
I'm not trying to discourage the scratch builders, but it's
No.
it's easy for somebody to come on with the 3D printed stuff. You guys probably heard my story where I was out for a lot of years, and just back in the last 2 years, I've gotten into it. And when I got back into it and found out about this 3D printed stuff, the carburetors, we all know back in the day, if you were building kits in the 70s and 80s and probably even the 90s, the carburetors were some sort of a little blob that sat on top of the intake.
yeah,
Now you can see the butterflies. They got A&N fittings that you can see, like you can, so it's
yeah,
with the 3D stuff. So,
Absolutely.
I think Fafa said it in that if you kind of keyhole yourself or focus yourself and only what comes in the kit, and then the hobby is it has to grow, it has to advance, and it has to get better. And I think I'm with Jason. I know Jason because he's a 3D printer.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I know that it's awesome, and the motors we get, and Paul, your Iceman Collection sponsor as well, so we love what they're doing. VCG,
mhm,
Iceman, well, Jason too, but there's so
Matthew.
many really Matthew,
Yeah.
so many really good. Yeah, Matthew. Jason Anscombe just did a video on his stuff, and they got a 351 in there that I gotta have. I'm
mhm.
calling Matthew, texting, getting on the website to get that now. That 351 Cleveland will be awesome in some of the Ford roundy round cars that I've got. But
Yep.
I agree with you.
That's what I got going in that 29. So
Nice, very cool. Yeah, I think it's great. I think like anything, it just everybody's got a different perspective, but
Sure.
I think the more options you have, the more it just opens the hobby up. And at the end of the day, I think everybody's goal is hopefully to see the hobby thrive and
Sure.
grow. It's just like the one-to-one stuff. Things continue to evolve, and there's different, I don't know if you say genres or different types of car stuff that it's not my cup of tea that I'm going to go out and build
right.
model car or real car, but I'll be the first one to say, hey, nice job, or appreciate the work that someone has in something, and
Sure.
even better to see the enthusiasm people have for a car, because
See,
that's what keeps it going.
for me,
Agreed.
that's been the thing for my age group, is trying to get the old school dudes in the one-to-one to allow the guys that are younger than me to bring their Volkswagens, their import stuff, even the new Camaros, the new Challengers, because the old school dudes, they are stuck in that, 64 and older. Otherwise, don't come park here. It's like,
Yeah.
you
For the
can't
most
do
part, yeah.
that. You got to get people to just kind of break out a little bit, go over and look at somebody's project and say, wow, yeah, how'd you do that? And then
Mhm.
you'll start to open your eyes to all their craftsmanship. And that's when you realize that you're all car people at the end
Yeah.
of the day. And that's the same with the model thing. And the model thing is cool because so many of us have either got one-to-one stuff, or we're at a stage of life where we've sold it all and we can do it on our bench and not have the space, consumed by the one-to-ones. So it's a very cool hobby in that regards, that you can just, put whatever combinations you want, whatever paint colors, whatever decal package, whatever motors, tires. I mean, it's endless, really,
Yeah, you can build your dream car.
Yeah.
I mean, that Charger I'm building now, I would love to own a 67 Charger, slammed to the ground, fat tires, and a big old
Yep.
elephant in it. Now, one-to-one, that's not in my budget. That's so far out of my budget that it's not going to happen. But I get to build it, and like it's something that I was building myself. So yeah, I agree. I love it.
So Paul, I don't know if you've seen on some of the Facebook stuff a few weeks ago, and we kind of nailed Jason with this question too. What color spark plug wire guy are you?
Oh boy. So
yellow spark plug wires are nothing. Right?
So, to be honest, it's funny as I do like yellow, but to some extent I try to go off of what color the engine block, the car, and the build is. So like when I was doing this Ford, I actually was going to go with blue, but then it kind of was getting lost with the engine block, the black, and everything. So I went with yellow.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, yellow just, you can see it, it's there,
Yeah, I've always been a yellow person because, that sticks in my head of Excel.
Yeah.
Yellow. I don't particularly like red, the color red, that much. MSD, I have all MSD products in my cars. I try to get the wires black.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, now, but yellow was classic, right?
Yes.
I'm sure there's somebody that will correct me, but it was like the easiest identifiable, if not the first aftermarket plug wire was the Excels with the little tan boot or brown boot and the yellow wires.
Yep.
So they're classic for sure. But I'm with y'all with today's technology and even in the one-to-one. There's always different colors. You can get purple, blue, green. I'll tell you what you don't ever want to get. And I learned this by experience. Never get a steel braided, that steel braiding that they put over fuel lines and hoses. Never get that for your spark plug.
Yeah.
Because if it's touching anything metal, it'll spark and pop a cylinder and blow your muffler right off your 81 Corvette.
That doesn't sound good. Yeah.
Don't ask me how I know. Don't ask me how I know. My dad has never been so mad at me when I blew the muffler off his 81 Corvette because I worked at back then it was Western Auto, and those steel braided wires came in and I bought them for him. I'm like, small block Chevy V8. I'm like, we got to have these steel braided wires on there. And of course, we run them right through the metal looms that for the the aftermarket ones. And run. Oh yeah, I popped his muffler right off. He was so mad at me, he didn't talk to me for a week.
Oh, that's awesome. That's crazy. Oh man.
So
bare metal foil. I'm sorry, Jason. Bare metal foil was one that somebody brought up here earlier in the conversation. What's your opinion of bare metal foil?
Just gonna ask them that.
All right, see there, great minds.
Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship. When it lays out nice, I love it. When it's not wanting to work right, and I just have to walk away.
I got so lucky with my Hudson. I think you've seen my 54 Hudson build. I got so lucky with the bare metal foil on it. It just laid down, did exactly what it was supposed to do. I did my part. It did its part. But I tried to put the black bare metal foil, which is the black chrome.
Yeah.
I tried to put it on, and it's just like I could, like you said, love hate.
Yeah.
I got so mad at the black chrome stuff, I just freaking started over, and everything went chrome after that. But
I've heard a lot of mixed things on the black.
Yeah.
Have you gold at all?
Years ago, I had a sheet I tried, and I never went back.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't have any luck with it.
See, I just recently has been the biggest problem. I mean, years ago I didn't have problems that I'm having now with it not sticking,
Yeah.
Get a sheet and then it's not sticking, and you just don't, the hobby shops, you go up and ask them how long's it been on the shelf. I don't know, I mean, they don't
Yeah.
they don't know. And then when you order it online, you don't know either. But yeah,
They
it's
they actually have this product too. I'm sure you guys know about it, but maybe some people in the chat don't. It's micro scale makes a glue for it.
Mhm.
But I'm here to tell you, you better make sure you got it right when you lay it down, because if you have to
really,
peel it back up, it's going to ruin your paint job.
Yeah,
Will not get
Pops
it back off.
he used to like to order his directly from Bare Metal Foil.
yep.
He would just order it direct from them and get about 3 sheets at a time and go
So
that
do you
route.
store it a certain way then?
We just keep it on a shelf in the garage or out here, and it's inside of a Ziploc bag. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's something that I
Bob
probably
says
should do.
a blood tribute must be made to the demon metal. Apparently, we haven't
Yeah,
made our blood tribute to the demon metal.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
No kidding.
When it works, I'm with you guys. When it works great. But when it doesn't, it makes you want to smash everything with a 5-pound hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you clear coat over your bare metal, or do you put it on last?
I've done both, but lately I've been foiling after at the end.
Okay.
Just using lately I've been using more tape to run
Okay.
through as guides with it. Uh, but yeah, I haven't cleared over foil in a little while.
I guess for me, I get a paranoia of that if I don't clear over it and then you're handling it or cleaning it
Yeah.
off, then you're gonna peel it all off. So I always clear over it, but I've never left one where it's still just bare metal foil
Oh, okay.
representing itself. So something I want to try though.
Yeah, it's not bad. This one probably goes back, I don't know. This probably goes
Oh
back
yeah,
about,
Nice.
gosh, this has the seats are done in it and
nice.
everything. And so this was probably done back in, gosh, I don't know, 2010, maybe 15 years.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Beautiful car. Beautiful.
Yeah.
What paint is that?
That's House of Colors True Blue Pearl. That's
Okay.
one of Pops's builds there.
Yeah,
That's something I want. That's something I wanted to bring up. We're all involved in a little, what is that? Messenger chat thing that we're in.
Yeah.
And Shane told me, because I was talking about bringing pearls into my charger, and I thought you would. My ignorance, because I'm not a painter by trade, and I thought you sprayed the pearls on top of the color. And he was like, "No, mix it in with the color." Is
You
that
can do
you would know
you can
as
do
a painter?
both.
You guys, that's how it's supposed to be done.
You can do both, and some of it depends on the effects you want out of the pearl.
and
And
how translucent the paint is.
yeah, depending, I don't have any here that are like that, but yeah. So Shane and I, we were talking. My father, back when I was younger, did a paint job on. Don't even remember what it was, but it was a black with a blue pearl, beautiful. And so for me, I've done messed around with some pearls in clear over the blue, looked really, or did the black and then mixed some pearl in the clear, shot it over. Shane was saying he likes to mix a little bit of the pearl in the black and shoot it and then clear it.
Oh,
So some of it's preference, and then again, some I think it just depends on the materials and what you're going after.
right.
Yeah, I did a little test spoon like in that chat, and mixed a little bit of the. I got pearl from Scale Finishes, our sponsor, but I mixed it in together, and I really liked how it made it pop. It made it a lot. same base coat, same everything, just added a
Yep.
little bit of pearl, and it really made a huge difference.
Yeah, one thing that's nice about mixing it in the color too is as you're mixing some of the pearl in and stirring it, even just on a mixing stick, you can kind of see
It's
what you're
easily,
getting.
right?
For me, probably similar. I don't really do the shootouts. I just get an idea and run with it. So if you got too much pearl, not enough, it's like, oh, stuck now.
Yeah.
I can tell you what you don't do. You don't shoot through pearl through a .38 airbrush. Nope, it needs at least a 5. No,
Yeah.
I'm sure that Fafa's making jokes because it's such a hot topic. But what is your opinion on Alclad?
So myself, I've actually not used it too much. I did just order some and we have some older stuff. Pops has used it a couple times. A buddy of mine, Chris, he really loves it and he gets great results with it. So I plan on using it. I got some of the chrome as well as some of the metals and stuff I want to try out and see how it comes out.
I'm a huge Alclad fan. I love it. I've got a whole
Nice.
rack over here, and I can even give you a little
Oh yeah.
that's bright aluminum on there. But
Yeah.
what I learned from Mark Batson watching his videos, he puts now the old square bottles from Tester or the gloss black. We all
Mhm.
love Tester's paint; it's great paint, but it takes forever to dry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what he did was mixed it 50 or what I let me rewind. What I did after watching his video was I mixed it 50-50 with the old unicorn tears, and I did stick it in an easy bake oven for 10 hours. But the gloss black from Testers 50-50, the old square bottle 50-50, what a shiny base. And of course, the shinier the base, the shinier what you're trying to get out of it, right? And that's that aluminum there is like it works really well. And I was super impressed with that was a great tip. Even the Alclad uh, gloss black that they offer
Mhm.
does, in my opinion, doesn't give the results that the old Testers does. It does take forever to dry, but it still
Yeah.
works very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terry too is in there commenting right now.
Yeah.
Terry's an anti-Alclad guy.
The stuff that Pop sprayed was for a Foos truck, and it was some of the engine parts, valve covers, headers, and stuff. What he did was, if I remember right, he used the House of Colors jet black, and then we used some of one of our probably I think it was a, I don't know if it was PPG or Deltron, just a regular 2K clear. Then went back and shot the metallizers over that, and they looked really good.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah. That's a good
It's a
idea to.
good product. It's like anything else. You got to learn how to use it, and once you figure it out, in my opinion,
yeah,
once you figure
certainly.
it out, then you learn what you got to do to make it right. Then it works really well. But yeah, Terry is definitely anti-Alclad.
And like everything, you got to experiment what works
Sure.
best for you. I mean, me and Jeff were chatting on Facebook today. You know, he was playing with his airbrush with a .3 needle, and I just commented, that for me, I have to use a .5.
Yeah,
Every time I've tried a .3, I don't get any good consistency, and I don't know if it's due to the speed that I like to comfortably move my hand or what, but if I don't have a .5 or larger, it's just dry. So
yeah. .5 on the airbrush for me has been the sweet spot. The smaller ones, I mean, unless you're just doing some interior parts or trying to hit a little spot, it's seems like when I get done, I can see light and dark spots in the base, and I don't like that. I try to keep everything pretty uniform.
yeah, I
See,
tried the .3 on my duster, and I painted that yellow. And yellow is one of those colors that, if you're streaky, you'll see all those streaks in yellow.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that coat sucks. So we're gonna just go to a bigger needle and try and cover it up. And I got lucky. I got real lucky that it covered it up, and I didn't see any streaks anymore. So
Nice.
see, for me, it's the size. I choose my gun, obviously metal flake pearls. I learned my lesson there. If you're trying to send big stuff through the airbrush, you don't need a little needle. But for
Yep.
me, like even with the orange, the Hemi orange I put on the motor I showed you, if it's just paint and there's no metal flake in it, and it's a small project, like you're trying to paint a motor, you're trying to paint a transmission, the 3.8 really works for me. Um,
Okay.
Again, as long as there's no metal flake in it or any pearls or whatever. But I do agree with you guys. If you're laying down, if you're doing a body or a chassis with a 3.8 airbrush, bless your heart if you can make it look good. Because I'm like you guys, I gotta lay down. I gotta have a big fan. I gotta get that
Right.
again. The swallowtail with the fan brush on bodies. That thing would up my game for sure.
Yeah, world of difference.
Absolutely.
So
And
let me ask both you guys this question, right? Um, for me, like all the other parts in the kit that you're building, how much of that do you actually paint with a brush, or how much of it are you painting with an airbrush? I kind of would say I'm probably about a 60-40 on that, where I paint maybe 40% with an airbrush and then go in there and detail with a paintbrush. But like my blocks and heads and all that, I still paint with a brush. How about you guys? We'll start with you, Paul.
So to be honest, I one of the reasons I wanted to get the airbrush was for uh, the blocks. Like I try to spray as much as possible, and I actually still for that I use a lot of rattle cans, Tamiya, Duplicolor. I've picked up paints like the Alclads and Tamiya bottle paints and other stuff to do through the airbrush,
Yep.
but I've yet to do it. When it comes time to do it, I just grab one of the, you know, automotive rattle cans
Okay.
and use it. And that's where, for me, it's just having the patience to not want to go grabbing at it too soon. And I guess that's where having multiple projects help. I
Yeah.
can do like a Chevy orange block, and then I'll just put that away and work on something else for the next 3, 4 days and let it really harden up. But I do intend on using the airbrush. I know from Scale Finishes and MCW, I've got a lot of engine colors, interior colors, steels, aluminums, all that stuff. So I will be getting more towards the brush. But for me, I tend to do as little of brush painting as I have to.
Okay. Yeah, I just starting to acquire some of the MCW line, and like you said, they've got all the factory colors for the blocks and stuff. So definitely gonna be shooting the Hemi orange and the turquoise for the 440 and all that stuff real soon. But for me, when you came up, it was always you painted everything with a brush, all
Yeah.
those parts. So
Yeah.
I think I'm having a hard time getting out of my old school ways and just loading up the airbrush to shoot small parts, you know. So, but
Oh, I hear you.
it. I guess I should. The easiest way for me probably would be to just say, okay, I'm already gluing them to a stick. I might as well, just to prime them, I might as well just load the brush and
Yeah.
shoot it. So, um,
Yeah, I'm trying to get more in a habit of leaning towards the airbrush for that stuff now, and that's what I need to start taking the time and doing.
yeah, 100%. What about you, Mike?
Um, as far as I'm sorry, the water bill would not wait anymore.
No,
I was trying to hold
same,
out, but whoo, this
same
new job's
question
got me.
with the airbrush versus how much brushing you actually do.
I I am guilty, and again, we'll go back to what I was saying earlier. When I got back into the hobby, I was pretty good with a rattle can back then, and even back when I was doing it originally. And I told myself when I got back into the hobby, I really wanted to figure out this airbrush. Now I can give you a little history. In like 1989, 88, 89, fresh out of high school, I'm working for a buddy of mine at I bought from the Snap-on man or excuse me, the Mac man. I bought an airbrush, and my dumb butt I was working at a muffler shop, right? I didn't know nothing about bodywork. So what do? I take a tester's bottle of paint and I pour it into the bowl of the gravity feed brush, and I'm trying to spray it. And it's like
Like
spraying
maple syrup.
pudding, right? It's like spraying pudding. I didn't know what I was doing, right? So I screwed up. So I cleaned it all up, and I put it in a box, and I actually still have it over there. But I told you that story to tell you that when I got back into the hobby, I really, really wanted to figure out this airbrush thing. So uh, I'm using brushes and pens now for the most part for touch up.
Okay.
I'll take as scale finishes. We'll use scale finishes for example, but if I spray the motor Hemi orange and I somehow scratch it or nick it or get glue on it and have to sand it off, I will take their paint and I'll put it, on a little piece of paper or whatever on tape and then touch it up with that. But I purposely try to use an airbrush on everything. But it's only because I want to get better with the airbrush.
Gotcha.
The pens, those to me, getting back in the hobby and finding out about these Molotov chrome pens and all these different things that are available, those are super handy. I love those things.
Yeah. Has anybody got the AK marker sets yet?
I do not have the marker sets. No. Paul, you?
No.
I saw a video. Somebody's got them. Somebody that we know has got
I know Gilly, the model tank guy, he bought a set. I just haven't had the time to message him to see what he thinks of them, but it's a really nice set that they came out with, and I personally like the AK products, so I'm really kind of curious to see how they would work.
Have either one of y'all shot the AK Chrome through an airbrush yet?
Yep.
You have? Good luck with it?
Yep. Yeah, the Super Chrome. Yep.
Yeah. I've not done it. I've got the AK Chrome, but I've not shot it through a brush yet. Do you have to dilute it or just shoot it as is?
Nope,
Or
it's thin enough. You just shoot it how it is. So
nice.
The thing that I do is I put gloss black down first as a base.
Yep.
And then I let that cure for at least 24 hours, something like that. And then I'll shoot that chrome on there.
Nice.
So that's what I've done for all of my projects so far.
Sweet. Right. Well, we're getting on close to an hour. Paul, is there anything else you'd like to share with us? I feel like we've kind of dominated a little bit of your time, but we are so proud to have you on here. Absolutely. Thank you for all that you do in the hobby. We were looking forward to maybe seeing the kids, but they probably got a million things going on, so they can't make it.
I think they're watching in the living room. When I told them it was live, they're like, nope, we're not going on. We'll watch. So they're probably in the living room watching it.
Don't be scaredy cats, y'all. Come on out, introduce yourselves. We'd love to meet you. We see you on the videos all the time. We'd love to meet you guys.
They're funny.
More of your builds you got there in the background? Or
yeah, so I thought just a little, I guess, representation, I guess. So my daughter in Texas, my older daughter, this was one of her builds, an old Predicta that she did.
Oh, so yeah.
Hang on just a second, Paul. Let me see if I can put you. I'm still learning this stuff. So solo layout. There you go. Show it again. So now you're on the big screen, buddy.
Yeah, this is my older daughter, Leilani, who lives in Texas. She's 24 now, 25. So she actually saw at one point the Predicta was a blue like this with a pearl white. And we had a copy of Street Rodder, and that's where she saw this and wanted to do a build. So this is one of hers, and I think you guys have seen June's Mustang.
That green is amazing, man. That thing is so cool. She did a great job on that.
Scale finishes. Our buddy Jameston, it's a factory 68 Highland green.
Beautiful. I love Jameson.
I think that's 500 clear. And then Belle, one of her favorites to date is her Joker mobile.
Oh yeah.
Oh, look at the paint on that thing.
Look at that. That's amazing. Yep.
Yeah, so this is House of Colors Passion Purple, Lime Time Green, and then pearl white on the seats. And It's got green flocking back here, purple on the top of the dash.
Nice.
Candy red wheels. The idea was to kind of have the car mimic the Joker, with the green and purple being the suit, the white on his face, the red wheels.
Yeah.
Those all kind of to tie in, and it's got the little guns.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, look at that. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, and then
So we've got you on the big screen, Paul, and now you're being spotlighted. Do you have, or can you show us what you got on the bench now, or am I kind of catching you with your pants down? What you got going on now? Or, if you can't show it, at least tell us about it.
Not a ton right in front. So, if you guys saw the Iceman engine I was working on, it's for this Mustang here.
Nice.
So, one thing I had to do here the other day. So here's the. Let's see if we can get this to.
That's awesome stuff.
Focus in it.
And look, yellow wires. Yellow wires.
Yeah. So it's just got a fuel line, couple fittings, up on the carburetor. I don't know if it'll.
Matt Lucas would be proud of you. It's got yellow wires.
See if I can get it to focus a little, but yeah. So on the valve covers, just used a semi-gloss black, and then took a Sharpie over the top, and then ran panel liner back in between.
Sure.
So you could actually get the Cobra and the lines to come out.
Nice.
But yeah, so that, and what I had to do here was, if you can, so June and I were messing with this. We had to cut out everything here to let the engine sit in, but yet still keep the brace.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
The Mustangs come. So we'll take and we'll take and put some sheet plastic back here. They just won't pop out, like the typicals. So I got that, and then we got a 50 Chevy that our buddy Mars and I are doing a buddy build on. I'm way behind. He's done with his. So he's doing the rusted out version. And then I'm going to do a cleaned up version. So it'll kind of be like your high school kid that bought the beater and then did the work and cleaned it up is what the idea will be. So this has the Iceman lowering. It's got the front and rear blocks to lower this thing.
Nice.
I don't know if you can see in there the block.
Oh yeah.
And the dropped.
Mars is another one we'd love to have on our live one time.
Yeah.
He's known as the Rust guy, and he's okay with that. But his creativity with the science and the Star Wars, this is a guy that uses phone parts to make a model. How creative and cool is that?
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and take you off of the big screen and exit. So we kind of had you on the spotlight there for a minute, but Mars is so creative. We hope to get him on one day as well.
Very cool.
Definitely love what you're doing with your stuff. Thank you, Jason. You go ahead and run us out for a while.
I really appreciate you coming on, Paul. Like I said, I really enjoy your channel for multiple reasons, and I think you know that. I appreciate, all the little banter we've had on the text group thing too. That's really cool. A lot of great people in that as well. So it's always kind of fun to just have that friend base to kind of bounce ideas, especially with the paint stuff. I mean, this whole episode was about paint.
Yeah.
I think,
that's because Paul's an awesome painter. Have you seen the paint jobs that he lays down? How can you not talk about those, right?
And the other thing that I like with your channel too, Paul, is that you do like the magazine. You've got like different days laid out for your channel.
Yeah.
And that's something that, so don't be surprised when you see it, when I steal some of your ideas.
Awesome. Please do.
But I got to say too, you deserve a ton of credit right now with this model cars and coffee thing. That is so cool. And there's so many great builders that are doing it, and so many new channels out there that I just really, really enjoy watching these guys. And then seeing some of these old builds, it's making me go dig in my basement to find old builds. And it brings back really great memories, you know. So thank you again, Paul, for creating that Model Cars and Coffee. That was a hit.
Yeah, there was someone that had, I think, did some of them I don't know, a while back. And, you know, for myself and the one-to-ones, we do it. And it's just a casual, it's kind of like what you guys mentioned with this. It's just like we're sitting at the table having a good time. And for me, that was kind of the Model Cars and Coffee idea was I try to keep them in the 5-6 minute range. I don't do any editing. It's just something to do, and I enjoy having my coffee and watching everybody's. I didn't think everybody was going to take to it like this. Now I'm watching them almost through to the next Sunday. But yeah, no, it's been awesome. I'm glad people have taken to the idea. They're enjoying it. And just what you said here, I'm noticing, you know, more channels through that I may not have seen or caught before. And also, Jason, I think it was your last episode. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with bringing out some of the past builds. And I'm someone, there's always going to be someone starting out you can help, and there's always someone we can learn from. But I think with folks like the three of us have established our channels pretty well. I think it's great for either some of the new builders or new channels to see that we all had a starting point, you know, and it's great for people to see that, not just see the wire detailed, excellent paint stuff. That way they know we all started somewhere, there's a road. And if anything, this community to me is great about picking up, helping, and showing people things.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. And we've got one on there now, that Big Sky Model Workshop.
Oh yeah.
I'm like watching his channel a lot, especially at work. I watch it during my breaks. And he's an ex dirt track, you know, race car driver as well. So that's tends to be a lot of his builds right now, is some of these, you know, dirt track oval builds and stuff like that. So he does some really neat stuff, and he's only gonna grow. His channel's already hit over 200 subs. So
well, Paul, to give you a little pat on the back and talking about Big Sky Model Workshop, great guy. He literally has right here in the chat, and I quote Big Sky Modeler. He says, "I owe my channel growth to Model Cars and Coffee."
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I still owe you a shout out for the shop card. I did get it, and I'll get it done. I'm just fat and lazy.
There's Bruce.
All right. Well, we're over our hour, so congratulations, Paul. You've gone the longest. So I guess you're the 12-round champion dealing with us two weirdos. But I can tell by Mr. Bruce popping up on the screen, he's trying to let us know. It's like, you know, mom knocking at the door. All right, guys, party's over. But can't thank you enough, Paul. Thank you so much for all you do. Again, a tip of the hat to you for bringing your family into this. What you do is awesome. Our little private chat that we got going on is great. I learned a lot of stuff there. I see a lot of great pictures and a lot of great builds. And I'm gonna hand it over to Jason before we sign off, because we all wanted you on here, but Jason was like, we gotta have Paul.
Yeah,
thank you.
We had to get you on. I really appreciate you coming on, Paul. I appreciate the friendship, and hopefully all of us will get to meet in person someday and shake each other's hand and buy each other a beer and cut open a big fat juicy steak somewhere. So that'd be a lot of fun. So we're gonna end this thing for tonight. Anything you'd like to say? You want to plug your channel or plug your sponsors?
What you got going on?
Yeah, just Left Coast Model Car Builds. I appreciate all the support from the community, all the friendships that I've gained. I mean, this is a great example. I definitely got to thank, you know, the sponsors that help out, and it helps keep the motivation with Iceman Collections, VCG Resins, Luke over at Customs Illustrated's been awesome. You know, Jamestown with Scale Finishes. And then with Gallery, Airbrush, and Mark over at Hobby Nut Models, they've all played, a role in this channel's development. And like anybody knows, it's just that little thing that helps keep us motivated. And for me, that's what this community's really done with the hobby, and between the kids and pops. I mean, between that and them, it just keeps it going. It's awesome.
I think my personal opinion, with not that your channel isn't worthy, but with you bringing your family on there, I think that's helped you tremendously. I mean, obviously you guys are doing good work, but what a great thing to watch as a viewer, to see your daughters, your sons, building with you. I think I can't stress that enough. I think that's awesome, man. Hats
Yeah,
off to you for that.
June might be getting ready to jump into a group build with his next build. So that
Nice.
and the dirt track one, I think I told you, we might do a 3-part. Each of us take a part in
Right.
a truck, a trailer, and a modified.
How cool would that be to
Yeah.
have dad, daughter, son, and
Yeah.
everybody built their own thing? That would be super cool, man. Super cool.
So
Yeah.
fun stuff over here. Fun stuff.
Awesome. Well, with that, let's all say goodbye. We'll definitely be in touch with you again and maybe do a part 2. You never know.
Awesome.
You never
Thank
know.
you guys. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Paul,
Thanks
for
for
coming
having me.
on. Thank you, Bruce, for all you do.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks, Bruce.
Jason, for being the awesome co-host that you are, or regular host that you are. Thank you to the chat, everybody. We appreciate you guys. Our co-host. I'm trying not to put one in front of the other. We're both co-hosts. But
Give me a
thank you
big
guys
hug.
so much. We appreciate you. Y'all be good, be safe, and we'll talk to you later.
See ya, everybody.
Night,
Bye,
y'all.
everybody.